Humble Life TV. God Family Hustle.
Let's go.
YouTube family, what's good? Check it out, man. I'm right here in the studio, live in the mix, right here, Humble Life TV's, Humble Life Studios. I got my homeboy today, all the way from El Paso, Texas, my homie Rob. He's about to set it off today. He got some powerful testimony, a good story. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my homeboy right here, Robert Ortega.
Much love to everybody. My name is Robert Ortega. I'm from El Paso, Texas, born and raised. I'm part of the Gangsters for Jesus ministry, and much love to everybody. I have a testimony just like many of y'all. Come from a lifestyle of brokenness, so much hurt, and the whole story from being down and out to coming to the feet of Jesus Christ. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the podcast.
Amen, brother. That's what's up, man. So you're from El Paso, Texas, born and raised. What part of El Paso you from, bro?
So I'm from Isleta area. They call it the Lower Valley area. So I was I spent most of my time there as a kid in the elementary. When I went to elementary, to middle school, and then to high school eventually. So most of my time was living in the Lower Valley, and we bounced around here and there. Yeah.
Right. So growing up in your household, man, how was it growing up in your home? Was there a mother figure, father figure? Did you have siblings? How was it growing up for you?
So actually, at the age of, I believe, like at the age of 2, my dad walked out. So when he walked out, actually, my grandmother and my mom took over. So they basically raised me. As we went on, I believe, like at the age of 11, my sister came into the picture. And from there on, it was just me and her and my mom and grandmother. Yeah.
Right. So you say she came into the picture. You mean she wasn't with you guys for a while, and she came in later on, or what do you mean?
So yeah. My sister, my mom didn't have my sister till I was about 11. So basically, it was just me and my mom growing up. I was always the spoiled kid, you want to say. So, but the thing was that my mom wasn't really around. She worked a lot. She had to, there's times that she worked 2 jobs just to maintain the bills. We actually grew up in the projects, so she lived in Section 8 for a very long time, and that's where I kind of started knowing the ropes and the ropes of the streets at an early age.
So when you were growing up, you know what I mean? Section 8, if people don't know about it, housing authority, basically the projects, the hood, the ghetto, whatever you want to call it. But so you're growing up in this neighborhood. Did you join a gang in that neighborhood, or what happened with that? How'd you end up getting involved with everybody in the hood?
So basically, at the age of 12, I remember actually what we would do. We would all hang out, right? We would all hang out, and we would just go to the store and play video games and just have fun, right? And we started just little by little by doing little things as far as smoking cigarettes, stealing from, back in the day, it was called Safeway. It was still cigarettes, still candy bars and whatnot, right? But as we started going, we went into 6th grade. I can recall in 1988, I can recall we said, you know what, let's form a gang. And we did. Actually, we formed a gang. And we were all just 11, 12 years old, little knuckleheads going to school and picking fights with other 6th graders. And nothing big, right? Just, just a bunch of kids smoking cigarettes, maybe a drink or two or whatever. And just having fun, and that's just basic, normal. For us, it was just basic, normal kid stuff.
So doing all that stuff, doing the gang stuff, like where did that take you? Like once you started doing that, did you start digging deeper into like partying, drugs, different things?
Yeah.
What transpired through this gang life that you were living, bro?
Yeah, so from there, I can recall we got evicted from those projects. We got evicted and we went to another Section 8. And in that Section 8, that's when I had just barely started middle school. So I was in 7th grade. I started 7th grade, and we were just a little deeper now. Now we were drinking and drugging, smoking a little bit of weed, drinking a little bit more, doing a little bit more criminal acts. Um, we intensified as we got into the 8th grade. Now I'm running with a gang, I lived in the neighborhood. There was actually there were sections. There was cliques. So every other street had a clique. Uh, Not too many of us got along. This now we're talking early '90s, so it started to intensify.
Man, I remember the '90s, bro. That's when
Yeah,
gangs really
yeah,
kicked off.
oh yeah.
American Me came out. You know what I mean? All this stuff was cracking. I remember even in Silver City, where I'm from, man, the violence, the gang culture took off crazy, man. So being involved with these gangs, man, and you started doing drugs, did it take over your life as far as like the drugs? Like what had you at your most bottomest at this point? What do you feel was like when you hit rock bottom or you were in the cut? Like what would you say would top it off for you, bro?
So during that time in my early teenage years, so now we're running and gunning, right? We're actually buying weapons now. We're buying weapons. We're getting a little bit more serious. It's not no more fist fights or hitting each other with bats or whatever the case might have been before. Now it intensified and we started picking up weapons, but it also intensified, like you said, it also intensified in the drugs. You know, the partying got a little too over it just got overwhelmed. I started drinking a little bit more. We would drink every day. Cocaine hadn't played in my life yet. It was more the weed and the drinking. That's where I kind of it led me down to a spiral road where I picked up my first case as a as a as an adult.
As an
Yeah,
adult.
as an
So when you
adult.
picked up your first case, did that take you to the penitentiary right away, or did you go through the probation system, or it took you right to the pen?
It took me right to the penitentiary. And the reason being was because it was just a simple robbery, but we had a weapon. We had a weapon, and that's what back in those early '90s, the state of Texas was taking it very serious with any aggravated assault, any aggravated robbery, anything that had to be aggravated. They were sending you straight to prison, and the time you were doing it was kind of like doing federal time. You know, if you caught a five, you're gonna do a five piece. If you caught a 10, you're gonna do a 10 piece.
Yeah.
There was
Everything's
no
bigger in Texas, bro.
exactly.
Everything's
They
bigger in
say you
Texas.
visit Texas, you live, you know, go on vacation, you live on
On
probation or something like
probation,
that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
during your prison stint, what happened? Did you find the Lord in prison, man? Did you come across God, or what happened with that? Did you go a different route? You know what route did you take when you hit the pen?
So when I hit the penitentiary in the '90s, I was sentenced to a 5 year sentence. When I hit the penitentiary, you know, it's funny because before I took off on on the Bluebird to the state, I was in the county jail, and I remember they locked us down. Right, they put us in the in segregation for a fight that we had. Right, and they put us in segregation. I remember seeing a Bible, and you know, I've never been in segregation. I'm only 18 years old at the time. I'm in a tank full of like they said, it was nothing but lions, right? There was nothing but OGs, people that were, I mean, straight. I mean, come out of the feds, old schoolers, and they were trying to school me, right? But they were telling me, man, you just get ready because it's rocking and rolling when you get there. So, long story short, I remember seeing a Bible and I remember picking it up and I went through the book of Acts. That's what I read. I read the whole book of Acts and it was probably like in a month and a half. And I caught chain and that was the last time I picked up a Bible as I was there in the penitentiary.
And then you just kind of just left it where it was at, forgot about it, and went and ran amok in prison, or how'd that go?
So as soon as we touched down in the state, it was during the times where it was heavy duty. It was I didn't understand that life was gonna get pretty extreme. So I'm 18 years old, and I remember hitting the unit, and an OG from my neighborhood was with me, and he tells me, "Hey Rob, you know what? He says, you know, do you see those people out there?" And I said, "Yeah." You see all those people sitting in the bench? I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, they want to hurt you." I says, "I don't know if you're riding or you're rolling in a car or whatever." But I told them, no, brother. I just got a 5 year sentence. I come here to, I come here to do my time and go back home. But so I didn't really catch on till I started to really, as time went on, I started to notice, you know, as far as they tried to, they tried to hit me as I was going into my cell, and I remember retaliating and stuff like that. So what eventually happened in those times that majority of El Pasoans had to they were either going to ride or they were gonna go solo. So I was part of that. I love my people, and I was a gangster that thought that, what, I'm going, till the wheels fall off, just the same way I did in the streets. So the majority of us that were actually enemies, rivals, and all that, we came together and we rode together. And eventually, I was part of I was into the I was I was part of the organized criminal enterprise that was rolling the state of Texas in that time, which was very powerful. They had labeled us like one of the most dangerous prison gangs at the time. And this was coming from one of the governors or one of the assistant governors from the state of Texas.
Oh, that's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy. So now that you're on this side, bro, and
yeah,
you're rolling with God, do you
yeah,
ever see any of them people from back in the day? Do they ever notice you? They ever say,
yeah,
"What's up, homie? What's the deal?" Because I know
yeah.
when you're involved in that life, it's usually for life. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
It's a trip. It's a trip how it all played out. I actually I got out and I got worse. Things got worse. I started in the dope game. I had the power. There was things that were in my favor because of all that, right? And was there fear? I believe there was a fear, that a spirit of fear that had a hold of my life, that was pushing me into all these things. There was a part of me that didn't want to do it anymore. There was a part of me that I was saying, you know what, just go, to the wheels fall off. I was willing to take a life sentence in that time. I wasn't the type of person that was gonna snitch or anything like that. The thing was that as eventually as time went on, I met my wife in 2002, and things spiraled out of control. We got hooked on coke, the party life, all these things. The money wasn't coming in no more, so people started to like remove themselves from my life, and I started to notice a lot of stuff that I just didn't want to be part of anymore. I was tired of it. Like they say, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So one day, as I was sitting there, I remember I went to they picked me up. My wife was like, "Rob, they're here for you." And she opened the back window, and I said, "I ain't gonna run. It's a 90 day jail sentence."
right.
And then she's like, "Really?" I said, "I have three boxers on. Don't worry about it. I'll go
Yeah.
come back right away.
Yeah.
I'll go get it and come back with it." And sure enough, I go to the annex there. The annex wasn't there back in my day, so to me the annex was brand new to me. I'm old school to the El Paso County Jail. So when I get there, I I was a shot caller during the time, so I would run the tanks. So I'm running the tank, right, and laying down the law. I'm a very I've always been a very I've always been a very how can I say this? I've very been fair person. I've always been a very fair person. I never took advantage of the position I had in that lifestyle. I've always been fair with the people. So one day I remember that these guys were they were singing, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine." So I was like, "What is that?" So I went downstairs and they were having Bible study. So I went down there and I knocked, and I remember this dude, right? He was a white boy. He was from the AB, and he was running the Bible study. And he says, "What's up, Rob?" I said, "Man, can I join y'all?" And they looked at me like, "For real, you?" I said, "Yeah, man, this is awesome." And yeah, I start in there. I start going to Bible study. I keep running the tank. I'm living this. I'm loving the word and I'm loving the praise and worship, but I gotta still handle business, right? One day, we beat up some dude, right? They get into it, um, and these youngsters that they're jumping in the game. I you know I give them the green light. I tell them, you know what, throw 1-on-1 with this dude and whatever. He disrespected us, whatever. So they pull me out, right? Because they film you. They pull you out. And I remember this corporal, big big black dude, man. He says, "Hey Rob, let me ask you a question." I said, "Yeah, what's up, corporal?" He says, "You know I've been here a long time." I said, "Yeah, corporal, I remember you from the early '90s." He says, "Hey Rob, let me tell you something." I said, "What part of town are you from?" I said, "From Isleta." He says, "I grew up in Isleta." He says, "Can I tell you something?" I said, "What's that, corporal?" He said, I see I see a lot of my high school friends come through here going to the pin." But she says, "You know what's crazy?" He says, I see a lot of their children come through here, going to the penitentiary. He says, you know what's even more crazier, Rob? He says, now I see their grandchildren come through here, going to the penitentiary. He says, Rob, let me tell you something. You know what you guys are doing to yourselves? He says, you guys are just going in a circle. He says, all that's all you're doing. So let me tell you, who's gonna be the first one in your family to accept Christ and break that generational curse? He says, and we'll leave it like that. So when I went back to the dorm, white boy tells me, hey Rob, let me speak to you. He says, I know you're leaving tomorrow. He says, before you leave, I know what you're involved in. I know what you do. And I know these past weeks you like the Bible study and all that. And I know that God has a calling in your life. He says, but let me just tell you something. You can't serve two masters. You either love one and hate the other. And I didn't understand at the time. But you see, God was speaking to me. So I take my Bible with me and I go back home and there with Miriam. And I still have the dope. I still have the money. I'm still trying to do what I normally do, but I'm reading the word. And that's where it just all started. And one day I remember I was sitting there with a quart. I had some cocaine on the table. And I remember I was sitting there, I had been up for 2 days, and it just came to me and it said, Rob, you want a better way of living? And I remember reacting. I said, for reals? I said, what do I do? I started talking back to the Lord.
Right.
Well, what do I do? How do I leave this? And he came back 3 weeks later and he says, Rob, do you want a better way of living? Long story short, I believe he pushed me out of what I was doing. There was politics involved and whatnot, and I was pushed out of the situation. And was there a hit for my life or whatever you want to call it? Yeah, I believe so, and all that. But what we did, we moved to the other side. We moved to the other side, thinking, what, let's start all over. And that's where we kind of started. And I started to slowly but surely listen to Christian rap. Slowly but surely, listen to the word. Started going to the church, and and my wife, I would bring her with me, and actually it was me that started going first, and then she would kind of half step and wanted to and whatnot, and yes and no, but that's where we kind of started, and that's where we started journeying into walking with the Lord.
Man, that's awesome. Shout out to
Yeah,
our wives. They're both here with
yeah,
us right
yeah,
now. We got some good women that are on our side, and
yeah.
he who finds a good wife finds favor with the Lord, right?
Amen,
So,
amen to that.
but yeah, that's an awesome story, man. That's an awesome
Yeah,
testimony. I even got goosebumps when you were telling me
yeah,
that because I felt that, bro. It's real,
yeah.
and that's what this podcast is about, is just being real. So, when you started walking with God, what direction did you go in, man? Did you right away go for the Gangsters for Jesus? How did you end up linking up with them? Like, what happened with that?
Yeah.
Like let us know that part of it now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So basically, I started going to church, right? I started going to church, and there was just it was a big church. There's a lot of people. I started learning the basics of Christianity. I started learning the basics, and I started falling in love with the Word, and it started to speak to me. I started watching a lot of YouTube, just different scriptures, and I started reading on my own, and all that. So as time went on, I just couldn't let go of the drinking and the drugging. I just there was times that I was okay for so long, but I would come back to this giant, right? It would just kind of take a hold of my life. And one day I can recall um a brother of ours that does ministry with us. Actually, he's a pastor as well. Um George actually invited me. He had seen the gangster preacher on the internet. He had seen him, and he sent me the video and he told them, "Hey, what you think about this dude?" And I saw it and I was like, "Wow, he was pretty raw." He says, "You know what, man?" He says, "I'm gonna go to discipleship." He invited me. He says, "Rob, would you like to go?" I said, "For reals?" He says, "Yeah. Would you like to go?" I said, and George had been part of my walk with God, because that's how I saw George in the church when we were going to this church, and he would kind of minister to me, and I didn't know fully surrender to Christ. I just thought of just going to church, going on Sunday, going on Wednesday, I'll be all right. Going on Sunday, going on Wednesday, I'll be okay. But I just couldn't get that giant to be slayed in my life, right? the giant of addiction. And so he invites me to the discipleship, and I fail him. I didn't go. I'm like, man, I should have gone. I felt like convicted, right? I should have been there. I should have been there. He tells me, Rob, don't worry about it. You could come next Friday. They were doing these discipleships on Fridays, right? So I said, I'm going to be there. Sure enough, I was there. I walk into this apartment. Pastor Isaiah, Pastor Evelyn, Gina was there, George, me, and three other individuals that used to do ministry with us. I sit down, and Pastor Isaiah gives a message, and like that, I said, "Man, these are my people." But you see, let me just backtrack. 2 weeks before that, I had prayed. I had told the Lord, I was tired. I was sick and tired of going backwards, like taking 2 steps forward and falling 10 steps back. And I said, Lord, I was crying out to him. I said, Lord, please bring me people, send me the people that I can relate. I just didn't have anything in this church. I was there learning the basics and all that. I just didn't have this relationship, like just like me and you just talking like this and breaking. I just didn't have none of that. So when Pastor George comes into the picture, we head out to the discipleship. When Pastor Isaiah finishes the discipleship, it just like always, he says, "What you think, carnal?" And I was like, "Wow." I said, "This is me. This is where has me. This is what God has sent me. Is to you guys." And I knew it, right? I knew it. And from there, we take off. We just take off. In that moment, in that time, I never touched the bottle anymore. I never did any drugs anymore. I just never went back. And from there, from that day forward, we've been just, hitting it hard for the kingdom.
How long
And
has
I've
it been now?
so it's been now 5 years.
5 years, amen.
5 years. It's been 5 years, and I've learned a lot. I'm learning a lot. I'm just so grateful. It's amazing to have people that love you, people that care about you, and that's something I think that I missed as a kid. My mom loved me. Of course, my mom loved me. Of course, my sister loves me. Of course, my grandmother, when she was alive, she loved me. They loved me so much, but it was just this love, this connection that I think as youngsters that we fall into these traps of these snares of the enemy that a lot of us have in common. We're looking for love, but we're looking for love in wrong places. And when you find this genuine love and the love of the Lord that people can give you, that people are sincere, especially pastors like that. I mean, you got to run with it and just grab it and run with it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking about that love with the brother the other day. He's from Silver City, and we were just having a conversation. And I was telling him, man, that love brought me so much peace. You know what I mean? Like a peace that's just you can't explain it. But when you have that peace, you know it's of God. You know that's the only place you can get that is from the love of the Lord. You know what I mean? And that peace of not having to worry about the feds kicking down your door, not having to worry about that quarter ounce or whatever you got stashed away underneath the gamma, anything like that. You have peace, man. It's all just in God's hands, you know what I mean? And that's awesome. So now that you're doing the full-time ministry with Isaiah at this time, you fall in and everything. What happens after that? You guys start doing the Gangsters for Jesus?
So yeah, we actually what happens as we're going through as we're going as we're going through um as we're going through the phase of hitting the streets and whatnot. I start to learn a lot from him. I can recall that I was a person that back in the day I would go and feed the homeless. I would feed the homeless. I would do stuff like that. um Pastor Isaiah showed me how to really operate in the field. And as we get there, he shows me more and more about how to operate in different parts of in prison systems, in the streets, in all these things. And I believe he's training me, and he's training me as he's doing now. um one day we're sitting there, right? This coworker, he gives me 20 chairs. Gives me 20 chairs. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with these 20 chairs? And I remember I started painting one of them. I started kind of restoring it. They were older chairs, those metal ones. I started restoring it, and then as I'm doing that, I call Pastor Isaiah and I tell him, "Hey, Pastor, man, what are we gonna do with these 20 chairs?" He says, "Man, we should start, a church. Yeah, let's go to the opportunity center. Let's we start talking about it. Let's set them up. Let's give the word, and because we would go to the opportunity center. We would go to the where church in the alleys nowadays, but we would just go there, feed them, pray for them, minister to them, and it all came into play. I said, let's call it church in the alley, right? And we take off, and we lay down the chairs, and we start with 20 chairs and a little bit of coffee and donuts, and we had we were using like a drawer as a pulpit, and let's rock and roll with it,
Man,
and we take off,
I
and
remember that.
yeah,
I think I was there for that first one. You guys did it
yeah,
with Perk
yeah,
right there, and I showed up, and we had the music out there, and then
yeah,
after that, we shot the videos for Perk. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah,
That's awesome. But you guys are growing now in the alley. The alleys
yeah,
is taking over now. I see you guys
yes,
all the time on Facebook. You guys show your pictures and you guys do the
yes,
recaps. I'm like, man, people are pulling up and showing up, man.
yes.
That's awesome. So you've seen a lot of fruit from that. You guys are really
So
pressing in on that.
yeah, yeah. So actually, we were there this morning. We're doing a Thanksgiving meal. Um, there's so many there's so many people that are coming out of prison, and actually they don't police don't want to deal with them, or the city don't want to deal with them. So actually, they go and they place them there at the shelter. There's different shelters. There's a women's shelter. There's a men's shelter. They're actually building a brand new men's shelter. They're doing this as we're going through time. Um, there's been times that we receive phone calls. Um, these people are out of rehabs. All we're doing is just planting the seed. Uh, God does the rest. They wind up in rehab. All of a sudden, they wind up back with their families. Some are doing ministry. Some are even in prison. Some are in prison, and they thank us as we go to we go to Sanchez unit every year, and we run into a lot of them, and they say, "Man, we appreciate you for what you guys do out there." And I was about to die. I had an overdose twice already on fentanyl, and thank God, man, I went to the church in the alley. I heard messages, and I love you guys, and that's just the way God works. But we just seen so many people being healed and restored, and
Right.
God is just
I
amazing.
know we were having a conversation earlier, man, and you were saying that you went to the prison
Yeah,
that you were actually in, right?
yeah.
And you got a chance to minister to
Oh
the men.
yeah.
How was that? How was that? I mean,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
Yeah, yeah, that was amazing. That was an amazing experience. So I did time in East Texas. I did time in East Texas, and it was just it was 26 years ago. It was in the 90s. I did from 94 to 99, somewhere around there. I did time. I got out in 99. Um, I I I picked up some charges. Back in the days, you pay a lawyer, and you get away with it, or whatever the case might have been. But I didn't go back to TDC, so this time I went back to TDC. This was a week ago, a week from today. I was there. We flew out there. Me and another brother from the ministry. We flew out there and drove up to the Gib Lewis unit in Woodville, Texas. And when we walk in, I just kind of tripped out. I'm like, man, this is amazing. Like, wow, this is where, it was a part of my life. And just looking at the inmates going to the chow hall, walking through where the dorms are at, walking through where the cells are at, looking at the handball court, and talking to the guards. And we walk into the gymnasium, and as we walk into the gymnasium, I tell him, we're gonna have service here. He says, yeah. He says, man, back in the 90s, we used to have service in that little chaplain over there, that little schoolroom. It was a small area, but we used to all cried up in there. He says, yeah, right now they'll be here. So eventually, yeah, start calling out services. They come in, and it was amazing to see them all there. about 250 inmates, and they sit down and we rock and roll with it, right? We rock and roll with it, and let God do His thing, and as we're there, I'm like, hey man, let me tell you guys something. I've been here before. I did my time here. I did 26 years ago. I was here, and I was the one sitting where you're sitting. You see, I used to run around in prison gangs and all that. I was the one sitting in those seats, negotiating prison politics and whatnot, and I was the one mocking the preacher. I would be the one laughing at the preacher. And look at what God does. 26 years later, He has me behind the pulpit preaching to you guys. I said, if God can do that, He can do that for anybody. And they were just amazed. They were like hand clapping. They were like, wow. They're like, wow, this is amazing. So as we go through the service and God gives us a message and I speak it, uh, they are touched. Real can only recognize real. That's what I told them. We've been trained to we preach the truth. That's the only thing that's gonna change these people is the truth. I saw Pastor Isaiah preach a raw sermon a week before that at Sanchez unit, and it impacted me so much. It impacted me so much. A week later, I head out to the Lewis unit and I preach this message, and I tell Pastor Isaiah, man, man, God is amazing. These dudes, they walk in there, I was one of them, walk in there all hardcore, nothing but youngsters, 20 years old, 21 years old, 30-year-olds or whatever, right? Black, Mexicans, whites, all these people, right? And they're listening and they're paying attention because they can relate with a man of God that's walked the same field as they're walking. And when I'm preaching and the altar call, the prayer of salvation. At the end, I tell them, let's you know what, let's get really real here. I want to pray for y'all. Let's pray for you. Some of y'all need prayer. And took one dude of courage, and he walked up to the front. And when he walked up to the front, he got in front of me and he kneeled down. And when he did that, the brother that was translating from here, the one that went with me, he kneeled down right in front of him and he placed his hands on his head. And when he did that, 150 of them came forward and they all kneeled down. They all kneeled down. And we know Holy Spirit just does his thing. We start praying over them. And a touch of heaven hit them. That when I opened my eyes and I look at them, they were all in tears. They were all in tears. We finish and they get up and one of them tells me, brother, I appreciate you so much. I said, don't thank me, thank God, brother. He says, I'm getting down in 2 weeks, bro. He says, I've been here 37 years, dog. I said, man. I said, I will keep you in prayer. And there was just one dude. He says, Rob, I know you. And I said, man, when you walked in, you look familiar. He says, I was here when you were here. Except I got out, but now I'm back. I said, we keep you in prayer, brother. And it's
Man,
just stuff like that,
it's all worth it.
It's people like us that are pushing the kingdom, that are being truth tellers that God is using right now, the remnant, right? The remnant. And it is beautiful because it's people like us that the enemy can't stop because we were out in the field. We were there. We were working the works of the enemy for so many years, right? Maybe we didn't even know it. But, he knew that we were like, man, these dudes are relentless.
Right, right.
Now we flipped the script and we're doing it for the Lord.
Man,
Man, they
powerful.
ain't no stopping none of us.
Powerful, man. That's
Yeah.
powerful. That's awesome. Game, real recognizes real, right? Game
Yeah.
recognizes game, whatever you want to call it. But it's true because we went to the juvenile facility about when Seven was here. I had Seven here,
Yeah.
and we went to the juvenile, the J.P. Taylor Center. And when I left,
Hmm.
one of the guards wrote me, and he said that the kids said that they really listened to us because we've been in their shoes. You know,
Mm.
all of us that went had actually at one time been in a juvenile facility. We've been
Right.
locked up. We've been there, and they listened to us. He goes, man, I don't know what it is, but a lot of people came and spoke, and we're
Yeah.
thankful for them people.
Hmm.
But hearing you guys, like now
Hmm.
they're having their own little Bible studies. Now
Exactly.
they're in their word. Now they're like, can we see their videos? Can you show us this? Can you show us
Yeah.
that? So it's true, man. Like real recognizes real, and it's
Yeah.
definitely true. One thing that I always ask everybody on this podcast, I always ask them, if you could look back, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, and if you could tell, you know what I'm saying, the younger you
Hmm.
something, if you could tell the younger you, you know what I mean, the old you,
Hmm.
someone that's probably watching this that
Right.
is younger, you know what I mean? And what's something that you would tell them, man? If you want to look at that camera and just let them know what you would tell them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I would say, you know what? Be patient with yourself. There's, we go through hurt, we go through so much rejection, we go through all these obstacles in life, and a lot of times it's not us. The enemy comes in between, and that's where he wants to destroy us. But if I could go back, I would be a little bit patient with myself, and start to, if there's people in your life that are speaking into your life, that they're positive people, especially men and women of God, that they're speaking into your life, and they're trying to reach you, and they're trying to speak to you. Be patient. Listen listen to what they're trying to tell you. That's something that there was people in my life that they were trying to speak life into me, but I wasn't trying to hear it. It was going through one ear and out the other, just like many youngsters. But this is something that we need to learn, is to be patient with each other, and to love one another, and to really forgive one another. There's a lot of unforgiveness that was in my heart, that all the rejection and all the hurt that I went through, that I didn't forgive myself and I didn't forgive others. Now I know that, and it's so important that you forgive those that have hurt you, and be patient with yourself, and
Yeah.
love God and love people.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, as we wrap this up. I just wanted to say, I'm super grateful for you, man. I'm super thankful for you. Just everything that you're doing within your ministry. I hope that it continues to grow. I continues to prosper. I hope you guys continue to just win soul after
Hmm.
soul, man. And before we end it, would you want to let people know where they could find you at, where they could see you at, where they could meet you at?
Hmm.
Let them know about the services that you guys have in the
Yeah.
alley. If you want to shout that out, that'd be cool, man.
Yeah, yeah. So we have Gangsters for Jesus in El Paso. Gangsters for Jesus is in El Paso, Ohio, Green Bay, Georgia, LA. There's quite a few places, but in El Paso, if you're in the region of El Paso, you could reach us at 1208 Myrtle on Sundays at 10 a.m. So during the winter hours, we're there at 10 a.m. During the summer hours, we start at 9. So it's 1208 Myrtle in the downtown area of El Paso. So we do services there. You could find us on Gangster for Jesus Facebook page. Um, you just and whatever you need. I mean, you need prayer messages or whatever it is. My story, actually, Robert Ortega. I have a story on the 700 Club. Um, you just All I do is I go to YouTube, and I actually put gang gangster testimonies 700 Club, and you'll see me there. I'm on the bald one there, and it's just amazing. Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate you guys for having me, and me and my wife, and thank you for what you do, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, brother. Thank you once again, man. So, YouTube family, stay tuned, man. Keep subscribing, keep tuning in. Like I said, it's not about numbers, but we appreciate the support. We're thankful just that we could just reach one person. That's all we need to do is just reach that one. But we're super thankful for everybody that tunes in. It's a blessing. So, like I said, Humble Life TV, Humble Lifestyles. Look out for my homeboy. And you know what? Go to YouTube and type in 700 Club Robert Ortega, and he pops up. That's what I did, man, because I went and watched it again because I had seen it a
Mm.
long time ago, but I wanted to watch it again, man.
Yeah.
So I went and checked it out. But yeah, go check them out right there, man. God bless you guys. Salute, and we out.
Amen.